Welcome back to a new episode in Democratic Data, and I am Dattatreya. The world is facing a potential threat of global warming and climate change, and in this regard, how is it serious in a South Asian context? And does this have a recipe of turning into a conflict in this tense and volatile region? In the last year, the world witnessed various major catastrophic climate events, starting from the wildfires in Canada to the tropical cyclone Mocha, which devastated the country of Myanmar. Both Europe and Asia also recorded their second warmest year. In India, recently, there were two major catastrophic climate events, one in Wayanad, where a landslide resulted in the death of almost 400 people and 200 are still considered missing. This was followed by a cloudburst in Tehri, which resulted in the death of 14 people across Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh. The heat map here shows that the region of South Asia has been experiencing higher temperatures with respect to the mean of the temperature between the period 1991 to 2020, and this is prevalent across all regions. It's important to keep in mind that South Asia holds almost 25% of the global population, with three major riverine plains in this area. Also, 20% of the GDP comes from agriculture in this region. So it's pretty evident that how water resources are critical for this region. While talking about the three riverine plains, I was actually indicating about the Indus basin, the Indo-Gangetic plain, and the Brahmaputra basin. And these riverine plains are spread across a tense and volatile geopolitical landscape.
Hindu Kush Himalayas, home to the famous peaks of Everest and K2, is melting at an unprecedented rate. The report from the Kathmandu-based International Center for Integrated Mountain Development says the Himalayan ice fields could lose up to 80% of their volume this century if greenhouse gas emissions aren't sharply reduced. It also warns that flash floods and avalanches will grow more likely in the coming years. The Hindu Kush Himalayan mountain range has been called the world's third pole because the snow and ice there is the largest source of fresh water outside the polar regions. That water is vital for 2 billion people who live downstream of the major rivers that originate in the mountains.
So in the last video, we saw how climate change is impacting the Hindu Kush Himalayan landscape. In terms of climate change leading to interstate tensions, experts have conceptualized a pathway where climate change results in changes in weather patterns, which triggers socio-economic measures from a state leading to infrastructure development, which can result in environmental changes such as increasing water scarcity. This impedes access to natural resources, leading to potential conflict. With regard to Hindu Kush, the key drivers are melting glaciers, changing precipitation patterns, and dam constructions. In terms of water conflicts in South Asia, let's start off with the conflict which dates back to 1947. Yes, I am talking about the Indus Water Treaty controversy, and actually it dates back to 1947 when India and Pakistan were formed. The Indus Water Treaty is a water distribution agreement between India and Pakistan signed in 1960 after 9 years of negotiations facilitated by the World Bank. The treaty allocates waters of the Indus River system between the two countries. Pakistan receives the waters of the western rivers Indus, Jhelum, and Chenab, while India controls the eastern rivers Ravi, Beas, and Sutlej. Though the treaty is considered one of the most successful international water sharing agreements and has established a framework for cooperation and conflict resolution through mechanisms like the Permanent Indus Commission, a neutral expert, and a court of arbitration, of late, tensions between the two nations have resulted in verbal exchanges in regard to water supply. with India being in an advantageous position as the Indus flows into Pakistan from India. With Pakistan being heavily dependent on Indus, it's one of the most water stressed countries of the world. With a population growth rate of almost 2%, it's expected to have a 36% surcharge in water demand by 2050. On the other hand, in the northern Indus region, which falls in India, it's expected to face 75% groundwater depletion around the same time. Thus, climate control measures are paramount for both these nations given their volatile past and ongoing tensions. A scarcity on either side of the line of control in terms of freshwater resources has the potential of triggering tensions. Moving towards east, we come to another tense landscape where India and China are at loggerheads over a riverine basin which spans across four countries. Yes, I am talking about the Brahmaputra River Basin. The Brahmaputra Basin area spans almost 580,000 square kilometers, and the key players in this area are China, which accounts for 50.5% of the area, followed by India at 33.6%, Bangladesh at 8.1%, and Bhutan at 7.8 percentage. Let's see at some key tenets of this Brahmaputra river basin. As evident, China controls the majority of the basin. However, the region is in a rain shadow region. So, the sections of the basin which are in India, Bhutan and Bangladesh have areas which have highest rainfall globally. However, China claims that 30% of the contribution of the flow to Brahmaputra comes from its side. On the contrary, India rebuts its claims, stating that China contributes only 7%. According to experts, both these claims from India and China are to somewhat exaggerated. However, recent scuffles between both these South Asian powerhouses have made the matters more serious, with India and China both coming up with their own proposals of building dams at strategic points to each other. China proposes to build a mega hydropower plant at the Great Bend or the location from where Brahmaputra changes its course. On the other hand, India has also proposed to build a dam in the region where rainfalls are the highest. So, with such existing tensions, climate change can only make matters worse. This heat map shows how the temperature in the Brahmaputra basin can rise up until the 2080s with an average rise of 1.5 degrees Celsius every 30 years. This can lead to havoc starting from flash flooding, landslides, change in course of tributaries, severe drought due to drying of river beds, which are all a perfect recipe of a conflict if one of the countries is at the receiving end. So, the need of the hour is cooperation rather than conflict, and this initiative should be taken by India and China, both being South Asian powerhouses in their own regards. India and China are both part of SARC and BRICS, and proper constructive dialogue and coherent climate control measures can mitigate several climate catastrophes. So that was all from me today. Please do like, share and subscribe my channel. Thank you.